Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of Marvel Duel. I'm Faith, one of your hosts, and I'm joined by Jonathan Snow and HorribleChopstick. How you guys doing today?
All right. Welcome. Another hype episode.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm the best I've been in a week, so can't complain. Welcome in everybody. Yeah, Marvel Duel Pro Academy. We did it. Note our fancy new logo over there. These guys can't see it, but I can because I'm doing production. It looks great. Big shout out to John for going out of his way and finding an artist and making it all happen. So we've got one logo there. We've got another logo as well. You guys will see these popping up more and more as we continue.
All right. Well, today's main focus is going to be on current meta decks. So we're going to be discussing our favorite decks, how they match up against the more popular decks going around right now, and maybe a bit of insight into how to run them. But before we get into that, there were a couple bug fixes this week, so maybe we should go over those. Don't have them up on my screen right now, but there's only a few. First one being where if you had Blood Axe on one of your characters and they got stunned, they would only go off one time. It wouldn't go off again if the round came to their turn again. So I've noticed this a few times. Normally, it doesn't usually matter because by the time it comes to their turn again after the first time, you've either already won or lost. What do you guys think?
I mean, it was occasionally relevant, but for the most part, yeah. If it went off the one time, it was often that's all your setup was for, right? It was to make that one big Blood Axe eat.
Exactly.
On your destroyer, because that's what you do.
Yeah, Blood Axe is a pretty good card. I'm glad they kind of fixed that as well. But also, Faith, if you want to look at the real quickly, if you want to look at the maintenance, just close out the app real quick and then just log it back in. You'll be able to see it, so we can actually get some rundown. So that way, because there's been there's quite a few things like actual like visual, just gameplay wise as well. That's really we should definitely talk about, because one of the crazy things is one of the hero skills have gotten a huge touch, and I definitely want to talk about that as well.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah, and we started with the bug fixes. We can keep talking about that while this loads in before we get to the actual changes.
It should be able to pop up like right here.
Oh yeah. Now, I don't know how well people are going to be able to read this. It's not as high quality coming in off of streaming off of Discord from you guys, rather than me plugging it in directly like we usually do. So we'll try, but no promises.
Yeah, so the next bug fix was they fixed the skill bug of Chewie.
Thank
Chewie's
goodness.
Yeah. So Chewie's had a lot of issues lately. John, I know you've had a lot of frustrations regarding Chewie. Can you go into detail on what this bug fixed?
All right, so basically when you have Chewie on the board, he has an assault ability where he triggers. And basically how the triggers work in this game, if people are not aware, because we actually do get this question kind of frequent, but the way the turn order happens is it's either one, whoever has the most units on the board goes first. So if I have 5 units and you only have 3 units, I will go first. Or it will go into the second thing. I'll go into on the far left, power, who has the highest power. So if we have equal playing field, if we have 6 units versus 6 units, on the far left, whoever has the highest power will go first. And then 3, whoever has assaults will go first. So assault will trigger first before power, and then whoever has the highest power to assault will trigger first. So I guess that's the order a lot of people aren't aware of. But anyway, besides that, Chewie's thing is that when he has an assault, he's able to take away whatever units that are equal to or lower power than he has, and then he will eat them up. And then once he gets destroyed, he will distribute them right back at his star level. So the issue with Chewie is that before the patch, he would actually activate the assaults even if he's at lower power. So even though you have an assault unit that's stronger than him and you're able to take him out, he will still trigger first for some odd reason. And he will also spawn units as well being defeated, which shouldn't be the thing. So that was the issue with Chewie. So you guys want to add into that?
The brief TLDR of that is basically Chewie would usually have to wait till it's his turn for him to activate his assault, but the bug caused him to always activate his assault, regardless if it was his turn. I know there was also one of our other pros, Cavs, who actually got recording of him encountering Chewie as a ghost or in a ghost player's possession, and it almost costing him the game because it was activating when it wasn't his turn.
Yeah, that's really annoying.
Yeah, Chewie had some crazy nuances to him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's see. Going over the rest of these. So we have looks like a fix to the speed up function. Would be invalid after playing Snap.
Yep.
So it'd be it.
Snap was whenever you played Snap, the animation will actually like go slow, and then once the animation triggered happened, the whole game went very like slow-mo action. So like it was pretty bad using Snap.
Well, that's a good little fix there. It should help. Let's see. We have a bug where rewards in the mail that were opened before midnight couldn't be claimed after midnight.
Okay.
Interesting.
That's one of the random ones. Yeah, these get smaller and smaller as we move on.
Yeah,
That's what they're doing. Yeah.
These are all little small things here. Fix the bug where the attribute of the hero skin is incorrect when checking information. Fix the bug where the stars on the battlefield would stay after you dealt damage to the opponent. And some other small ones. But let's go back up.
The star one was pretty funny also.
Yeah, that one's been around for a little while, actually. Yeah. The hero skill balance adjustment of swing into action. So for those of you who are listening, swing into action is a Spider-Man hero skill wherein once you activate this skill, you get to select from 3 random Starburst 2 5-cost character cards to place on your field. Before it would cost you 10 gems to do so. Now it will cost you 16 gems for that level 2 hero.
So your whole turn, basically. The 16
yes.
Gems, right? Yeah.
So before the with cost 10. So on turn 4, you're introduced your hero skill, which then you could pick this. So I believe on turn 4, you're also get 15 gems in total. Am I correct about that? Like at the start of your turn?
15 or 16?
You get 16 gems at the start of your turn? It's
one
of those.
It's
either 15 or 16. Yeah. So normally before this patch happened, you were able to do this action and still get 2 rows of a shop or 1 row of a shop and buy 1 unit, or
pocket it.
Do this and then get 1 unit. Yeah, or pocket it. So it was huge value. Huge value.
Mm-hmm.
Something to note though, gem efficiency wise, beforehand it would cost 10, and normally it would cost you 10 anyways to get a level 2 starbursted 5-cost hero. Now you're basically paying for the cost of 3 or over 3, a little over 3 of those 5-cost cards to get a level 2.
Right. So you're paying for tempo, but you're losing value.
Yep.
Whereas before it was equal on value and you gain tempo, so it was really, really valuable. It's interesting that they went to 16 instead of 15. I would think it would be 15, right? Because they're making you pay for 1 extra copy for the tempo, but it's 15 and then 1 extra on top of that.
Yeah, I think you do start with 15 gems on that turn.
Okay, so you have to come in with 1.
Yeah, you'd have to come in with 1. I think that might be why.
Okay, interesting. And
I think that skill. I think 16 is still very fair because again, who can you get as a 5-star? You can get Hela. A 2-star Hela is 30 power, and she can nuke your board. You could get Black Symbiote Spider-Man, which is also huge value. If you have him at the end, you can actually literally take out a player on turn 4 if he hits correctly.
Because if he hits and fills the whole board, yeah.
You can also get a Talos.
Yeah. Like it, yeah. You can definitely whiff with it too. Like the high roll is great, but the low roll is not great either.
Like 16 gems for a low roll. Oh.
Yeah, that's pretty risky. But you know what? I think that's, to be fair, I think this is a fair value because if you get one of those really good 5-stars at 2, you're pretty strong in the lead. That'll carry you for about 2 or 3 turns.
It's definitely dropped from like a snap pick to a maybe now for me, as far as like when I see it come up.
My opinion, even before the fix, I've always, no matter the card game I played, avoid any RNG that I could. So I've never liked.
Right, and we're very opposite on that. Where I will charge headlong into maximizing. No, let's roll it, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
And I mean,
just roll the dice.
With this, I think we're probably in agreement that 5 is like where your highest value cards are going to be anyways. So at least with that, it's good. Mm-hmm. Like 6 is the most powerful stuff, but 5 is often the most high value cards and the easiest to get to. So it's not like, you can low roll, but on average, you're going to get something decent. And sometimes you're going to be able to just like steamroll your next three rounds because you got something awesome.
Yeah.
Or like even like, Thor or whatever is a very good find there. There's a lot of powerful cards on 5.
Oh yeah, because just their raw stats is really good anyway.
Yeah.
That they give.
Or something like a stealth armor, right? Where you play it that turn and get a crazy boost on him. He's like 38.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And has the annihilate. That's always nice. And then he sticks around for 30.
Yeah, I don't know. Not sold. Anyway,
I'm definitely less sold than I used to be. I used to be like, nope, I'm always taking this. Now, we'll see.
Other things they've changed. The one big one is now when you're doing pack openings, you can open 5 at a time.
5, yes, thank you.
Thank you. This is easier. It makes it, especially when I do like pack openings later on in the future, it's more convenient. You don't. It's less lengthy of a video.
Oh, but see, you get I do single packs for videos. I want that content. I want to stretch that content. Get more view time.
That's fair.
Yeah, no. If I'm just doing it on
also
probably just 5.
Yeah.
Alrighty, and then something we've all been wanting is extended timing on our arenas.
Woo!
Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, now they're going to be open for 14 hours.
And I know both of you guys especially we're really suffering from not being able to get good arena runs in. So hopefully having some extended weekend time will help out with that.
Yeah, arenas are great.
No, it definitely does.
I do have a feeling some players, though, are already starting to get a little bit burnt out on it.
Maybe. I'm still enjoying it a lot.
Yeah. It's still fun. It's still fresh to me, and I definitely do like that change because I was able to play it like once a week to now I can actually play it several times a week, which is nice.
And also, it's nice to be able to sit down and play a full run in one sitting, which was basically impossible in 2 hours before. And I really like that as a play session. Sit down, play one full run, and then that's my play session for then. It's a good amount of time. It's what 3 to 4 hours usually if you're churning right through all those games. So
yeah, give or take.
Yeah. Now it's also gonna make doing videos a lot easier for Arena.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Streams too, like stream on the weekend. So the next thing, they've adjusted fight animations. I'm not really sure what this change entails because I don't have any animations on in the first place.
Yeah, so. It gets rid of the full screen animations, like if you knock somebody out, unless it's like the winning thing, basically. Because they take a lot of time.
So if you didn't already have that off, now it automatically.
Yeah. Well, I think we're 1 for 3 for animation watchers. So I don't know, John, has it impacted you?
Yeah, no, I like it. It's fun because now whenever you actually knock out your opponent, like on the finale, you get to see your main character that you chose does the action, and then you actually have like a VIP character, such as like Yondu, or if you have Marvel and stuff like that. You'll actually be able to see them come into the screen, and then they'll do their effect also, which is pretty nice because sometimes you usually don't get to see it at all. So I like it.
I still hold true to my conspiracy theory that anybody that has that full animation is going to be turned into a skin.
Yeah,
I think that's why. I think that's why they all have the animations, because they're going to be skins eventually. I'm maintaining that.
Definitely possible.
We'll see.
It's likely.
Yeah. I'm not announcing that. They've not said anything about that. That's just my pure speculation.
Alrighty. They also have some optimization in Road to Conqueror. Optimize the VFX when players have rewards to claim, and notice when a new hero trial is unlocked. So just more quality of life there.
Yeah.
Then some other quality of life things. Optimize the performance of loading interface. Tutorial battle. I don't think any of us are. I don't even remember the tutorial battles really. But
literally day one of this game, which was a while ago.
Yeah. And then added buffs that come from hero skills, the card detail interface. So, for example, you have a hero skill in Captain Marvel where she will grant a unit assault or another one of hers that gives it an extra action time. Now, if you're the opponent, you can click on that card and see that that is the skill they use to give that card that ability.
That's good, because I know on my stream many a time I've been like, where did that come from? What is happening? And you guys are like, look at it, idiot. And I'm just like, oh, sorry. Now I can not. I'll still complain, but I don't have justification anymore.
All right, so that wraps up the update notice. Now let's dive into some of our meta decks here.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna go over my deck that I tested. So I ran this 10 games and I went 7-3. 7-3 as in I placed top 3, not that I got first place.
Right.
That is just I shorthand call it Quest 5. So
before we start, should we describe like how is deck building in this game? Because if we having new players and new viewers watching or listening, what is deck building in this game? How is it different from every other like card game or like like Hearthstone or stuff like that? How is deck building in this game different?
Mandatory cost is the biggest difference in this game. Having to have cards of X or Y cost in certain slots, and you have to have 2 of everything.
Yeah, and I think we covered most of that during the first episode, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, brief rundown. You have 3 superheroes and then 1 neutral slot, and each one of those you have to have 12 cards. So 12 times 4 is 48 total. Plus you have a locked card pool that works off like an auto chest style system where you have a shop that'll come up and you have to purchase said cards.
It's 10 per, so it's 40 cards. But yeah,
4, 6, 8. Yep.
There's no 1-drops. That's why. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. So you have 10 cards per. There's 10 there, 40 cards total, and then the locked card shop. Yeah, and then in each slot, you can have up to 4 copies of a card. A lot of people wonder if I have 4 copies of a card, will I see it more often than if I only have 1 copy? The answer is no. You have the same chances of seeing. The one little thing that you should take note of there is that if you have cards you don't want to see, you should buy it from the shop and then just sell it, and you won't see that card anymore, and it will basically filter out your deck to get you to the cards you do want to see.
Especially 2 costs and sometimes 3 costs.
So you're basically telling me that running 4 copies of all the cards is not a good idea.
That's a terrible idea. Don't do that.
Okay, so don't do that.
Bad. Yeah.
Okay, so as a new player, I should not be putting 4 copies of every single card in a deck. That's just bad.
Yeah, there's no way you would want 4 copies of every card in your deck in any deck. Typically you want your key units. Probably you want all 4 ofs, and then all your as many low cost units as possible. Probably at 1. With some exception here and there. And then with weapons, you never want any more than the max number of that weapon you would want on the field at any given time, which is usually 2 at most. So it's almost always 1 for weapons, but maybe sometimes 2. I know like the Blood Axe deck, you probably want several, but and then with actions, actions can fluctuate between, it really depends on what it is and what the effect is. So yeah.
All right. So this deck, I call it Quest 5. However, that's a bit misleading. The majority of this deck is taking place on Shop 3. So I'm going to be going over just the main slots that we're looking at in each category, whether it's the superhero or the neutral. We'll start with the neutral, and some of the Shop 3 cards I have on neutral, it's going to be 2 of Wasp and 2 of Strucker. Now, before I go into too much detail, this shop revolves around proccing the Daredevil Quest, where, in case you guys don't know, you have to start with a lower amount of cards on the board than your opponent to win. So the main idea here is to get as strong of a board as you can while still having a lower amount of cards. So you want to pick up cards like Wasp, where she can get extra attack power from red units that you have in the shop. Strucker is good because he just has a strong base attack power. And then in the 2 slot, I'm also running Hydra Re-Education Cav, which is just 4 flat power. And then I'm also running a 2 of Outrider because if you have an all red board, even if it's just 5, and you have a level 2 Outrider, he's giving 4 people 4 power, which is an extra 16 power.
And that's firepower.
Yeah, I was about to say it's firepower on legs, pretty much.
On a lot of legs.
Yeah.
So, jumping into the actual Electra portion of this, I run 2 slot, just a Ninja of the Hand, Typhoid Mary. Neither of these are super important.
But notably, they're both red.
They're both red because it works with the Wasp that you saw already. So, more reds we have, the more she can proc off that.
And I guess you can put the cap on them as well if you need to.
And exactly. And then we'll also see that when we get into Hela, we also have a Blood Axe. As far as 3 costs here, so this is where the meat of the deck is. You want your 4 Daredevils, and you want to get all of these out before you activate or go for the board. So you want your 4 Daredevils, and you want your 2 Kings of New York. So what happens is you'll have 2 Kings of New York in your tactical area. And by the way, in your tactical area, you can only hold up to 5 tactical cards. So you don't actually want to get all 4 slots of Daredevil cards. You want 3 of the Daredevil cards, which you'll get. You get 1 off the 1 star, you get another one off the 2 star, and then you get your 3rd one off the 4 star. So you get 3 Daredevil Quest cards, and you get 2 King of New York cards.
Oh, so you don't play the 3rd copy of Daredevil? You hold it?
I don't play the 3rd copy. Yeah. Those are the 5 cards I have activated, and it's all for a plan, because you see, assuming everything goes well, and you proc all 5 of those, now you then level up to shop 4, and now that you have 2 Kings of New York, you're going to be getting 2 Iron Fists every turn. So you get so you stay on shop 4 twice for 2 turns. You're guaranteed a 4-star Iron Fist, and if you have 4-star Iron Fist with 5 active or 5 completed quests on your field, you're getting 15 power, and 12 times 5 is 60 armor each turn.
That's pretty crazy.
60 armor each turn.
What I was gonna ask, what's so special about Daredevil? Why is he like your main focus? What is so good about him?
Yes. So let's discuss his quest. So his quest, Back Alley Brawl. So we've already discussed the criteria you need to meet for achieving this quest, but when you complete this, your Daredevil not only gains 2 power at the start of each turn, but he also pierces or he does adjacent damage. So when you complete this quest, the card gains deal damage to the characters adjacent to the target. So for example, if you hit 1 card and they have 2 cards to either side, the 2 cards to either side will take the same amount of damage that one in the middle.
And that's a unique effect in this game. Nobody else does that.
I see.
That works great for fighting against things like Retaliate, because if you hit a card next to a Retaliate unit, you're not going to eat that Retaliate damage.
Neat.
Oh, wow.
And then he's gaining +6, right? Because it's 3 of those quests completed, so he's gaining +6 per turn.
He's getting 6 power a turn, yeah. And then if you level up to 5 after you've gotten your 4 Iron Fist, now you got your stick for each quest you have on the battlefield. And remember, you're guaranteed at least 1 stick a turn with King of New York. You put him in between Daredevil and Iron Fist, and now each of them are also getting 10 power each turn. That's at level 1. So if he levels up to 2, now they're each getting 20 power a turn.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And because you've set it so that those are the only things you can find because you fully thinned at this point, yeah. So each time you level up, you go into your 2 turns with Iron Fist, 2 turns with Stick, and then I see Moon Knight on the end there to cap things off.
Yeah. If it ever goes to 6, you have Moon Knight there to propel you over. All right, so that's the main Electro portion. The other 2 decks I'm going to go over are more of a supporting role. So we go over to Hela, and in the 2 slot we have the classic Blood Axe, which if you equip it, they gain 3 power, and they consume the character to their left and gain their power as well.
Yep.
I also have an Ulik. I chose him over Frost Giant, because he's a flat 4 power, and yes, Frost Giant's 5 power, but he's basically only got 3 life. And also, Ulik is a red card, which means he can use Blood Axe as well, and he also can use the 7 League Boots, and he also benefits Wasp and being a red card in the shop.
And also Outrider. Or Outrider benefits
and
him.
also Outrider, yeah.
Yeah, and then it also plays nice with Agent, who I'm sure you're buying sometimes.
I do, of course. And then another key card here is Destroyer. If you're playing this game at any level higher than probably Platinum right now, you know of Destroyer. He is seen very frequently. So basically what he does, he has an ability called Pierce, which basically if you hit a card with him, he will do any remaining damage to the cards, to that card's right. So if you, for example, if you have Destroyer at 20 power and you hit a card that has 5 power, he's going to deal 15 carryover damage to all the cards to the right as long as there's power for him to hit. The other thing is if he is a Maverick, meaning he gets an extra ability if he's the last person left on your board. And his particular Maverick ability is he increases his power 2-fold and gains critical hit. So critical hit in combination with doubling his power makes for some pretty clear board swing.
I think honestly, Destroyer is probably, if not one of the best, if not the best 3-drop in this game. Honestly,
yeah,
it's very versatile, and for early game like pressure or even just like as a safety net, Destroyer can really put in that work.
Yeah, for sure. And also, like, it can also just be like, "Oops, I win." Sometimes.
Like,
you just get the RNG sometimes of just like, "And I win." Cool, great. Because he goes off. Yeah.
So this next deck, I'm going to be using Iron Man. Now, I've seen some other variants of this type of deck that use like Guardians of the Galaxy with their strong 3-drops. However, I like using Iron Man because, and I'll explain it. In the 2 slot, I have the Iron Man Model 1, which is okay. It's a good card for Shop 1, Shop 2. It gives you a little armor. But you're eventually going to sell that because you don't want blue units on your board. The other card I have in the 2 slot is Energy Overload, which increases a start character's power by 20 and then destroys them the round after. If you're playing this deck, you don't really care about start cards, so this is great. And what you're going to be looking to do is, I have in the 3 slot Extremis Armor and, more importantly, Hydro Armor. So Hydro Armor at level 2, and I'm running 2 of Hydro Armor, and I'm only running 1 of Extremis. Hydro Armor is the more important one. So at level 2, he starts with a base of 14 and then gains an additional 8. Now, if you stack it up right and you play them at the same time, you get maybe a little lucky. You can get 4 plus 7 is 11, and then you play it down again. So you're getting 4 plus 8, so you're getting 12 plus this 20 or 14, and you end up with 26 power.
Mm-hmm.
This is on top of Energy Overload, gets him up to 46 power. Then ideally, you have Destroyer right next to him with the Blood Axe, and you equip the Hydro Armor with the 7 League Boots, which boosts him to 53 power. And then your Destroyer eats the 53 power Hydro Armor and cleaves the entire enemy board.
Yep.
Sounds pretty good.
That'll happen. Yep. And even if he doesn't, he's most likely going to win the board no matter what.
Yeah, that's the entire point.
Yeah.
You get all your Daredevil quests online, and then you move up to shop floor and proceed with your Iron Fist stick.
Nice. I like it. Yeah. And that's how you make it happen, is with a giant Destroyer.
Yep.
That's what you do to get your extra unit. Or your -1 unit to get the quest. Yeah. It's
a fun deck to play, and I've really enjoyed playing it. The main weaknesses of it are, if you don't find all your Daredevils in time, it can end up costing you the game. And sometimes while you're building up to looking for those Daredevils, your board can be a little weaker because you're targeting those cards specifically. You don't want to wait too long. Ideally, you want to do your board swing by around 6 at the latest. So if you don't have it by then, it could spell trouble for you. You could end up just dying before you get there. That's the main weakness of this. But once you get your Daredevil online, everything else is pretty much autopilot.
Very nice. That's a sweet deck. I need to play that. That looks fun. Although I don't have any Daredevils, so maybe I won't play that.
It's a fun deck. All right.
So for me, I've been playing something very similar to that, but like you were saying that you can play different builds. I've been playing the Guardians of the Galaxy build with that. So what I would do is for like the Guardian of the Galaxy line, I would play 1 Rocket Jetpack and 1 Rocket Raccoon for the same very reason, because 1, their power, and 2, Rocket is pretty good tempo in the early game because whenever he deals damage, he actually can snipe cards. So he does gain some type of value, and giving him Rocket Jetpack, of course, gives him the crit, which is very, very useful. And then normally I would exchange that with a Gladiator, because I'll be running 4 Gladiators on my build, and I would just give the Gladiator the Rocket's Jetpack because he'll give him crit. So that basically he'll be a lot stronger. I also use Cosmo. I play actually 1 Cosmo because if we're playing Daredevil, you always want to win that exchange, and you always want to tempo out your board to giving them a higher stat boost as much as you possibly can. So that's why I do that as well. And then I also lean over to, it's either I lean over to Daredevil, and if I don't see him by like turn 3 or 4, I move on to shop 4, and then my secondary winning condition is actually Ego. So then I play Ego as well as another win con, because sometimes if you try to focus on primarily on a certain target and you don't get him, it just kind of falls apart. So I rather just shift over to Ego, and then he'll just carry me to the later game if that's the case.
You can never go wrong with Ego.
Yeah. You can never go wrong. Like, Ego is just still too good. He's such a great card with Blood Axe. It's like you basically, the key setup is you put Gladiator in the first slot. Like, Gladiator is already getting rolled, like he's getting his stats increased, and then you just Blood Axe with Ego. He eats up the Gladiator, and then now Ego starts going off, and it just basically, those 2 cards are like yin and yang, peanut butter and jelly together, and they just work so well together. So it's pretty good. And
you can also work backwards from there, I bet, and then get a Daredevil set up after you have a partially fed Ego pretty easily.
Yeah, so if you want, so like the craziest line is you could go Gladiator into Ego into Daredevil, because then Daredevil will trigger, he'll gain the extra buffs, and then he'll just like nuke your opponent's board. Like, if he hits correctly, if he hits like a middle unit, his splash damage will just tear up the other 2 units apart. So, and then you're just like winning from there. It's like not even like a hard case to win. I think also for me, let's see. Can we continue looking at the Star-Lord stuff real quickly? Yeah. From there, you can also lean into, like, if you don't own Ego, you can use Drax as your other win con, because Drax is still just as good with his new update, where he gets the plus action time, and he gains every time he defeats a unit, he gains the plus power. So that's pretty ridiculous. That's another way you can go if you don't own Ego. Let's see here. Also, Drax Assault is one of the key cards as well. You run 4 of those because it's giving your unit, that's especially if you're going to give Ego the Drax Assault, where he can Blood Axe like a secondary power unit, feed him, he swings, he gains power, and then your Gladiator hits, and then he eats up the Gladiator right afterwards, and then he's just rolling from there as well. So that's also another way you can make sure Ego goes off. Or Daredevil as well. Let's see. And then for 6 costs, let's see here. I play Yondu because Intergalactic is a thing, and that deck is annoying. So what Yondu does is normally, if I am going to play against the Intergalactic, I make sure, even as a 1-star, he's very strong, because you would give him a Blood Axe, put him on the 2nd slot, give him Drax Assault, which then gives him and assaults. So then he triggers, eats up your gladiator, which is probably very big. He'll probably be like over 100 plus stats. He hits the second unit, and everybody just gets destroyed on the right side of him. So it's just like dot, 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 dot. It's like a wave of just destruction. So Yondu's actually a very good unit as also a secondary third finisher in the game.
Nice.
And then I play. Obviously I play Hela as well. So I play my lineup is what is it? Star-Lord, Hela, and
Electra.
Electra as well. Yeah. So, and then for the Hela stuff, it's pretty simple. You play more. I play 3 Blood Axe because 4 I think is a little bit too much because I do want to cycle out my shop a lot more than others. For Destroyer, you play 4 of him because that's the way to go. And then I think everything else is just literally just one of until you hit like Surtur. Surtur's like the finale, just like the last pivot card. I run 4 of him because getting that free burn damage is pretty good. and me personally, I like Hush because if I'm playing Destroyer, I like having at least 1 or 2 Hush on the board. Also, too, if you don't know, with the tactics area, you actually can now sell the tactic cards.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes now what I do is I'll keep the Hush for now, and then if I start playing multiple Daredevils, I'll actually sell the Hushes so that I can have more Daredevil quests available and have that active as well. So that's actually a huge change too. A lot of people are not aware.
Yeah, that's extremely relevant because you don't want your tactics area filled with multiple tactics cards if you're trying to do quests on top of that. That's a really good point.
Yeah, so being able to like shuffle different tactics in and out is really good because sometimes I'll cycle out Hush out of there, as well as also King in New York too. Sometimes I'll cycle that out because once I start going with Iron Fist and Daredevil, because I don't play sticks in my build because I already have Ego as a win con, and I have a Surtur and Yondu as another win con, so I don't play sticks on mine. But also too with Surtur, I use what's the card called? The Illusion card for Hela. I think it's a 5-drop. Trading Places. I run one copy of that. Yeah, I run 1 copy of that because if Surtur is my only out to like a specific deck strategy and they're low life, Trading Places, even if Surtur goes, he'll come back alive and then he'll be able to nuke with his Maverick skill, do like that instant damage, and then that's pretty much it. So depending on board state and depending on what's going on the board, I'll either sell King of New York's Hushes and I'll put Trading Places in place and then have Surtur as the finale. So it really depends on what's happening game state wise, where you could pivot to different strategies.
Very nice.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty much it for me. Like it's pretty good.
What deck do you find yourself struggling against with this?
I hate IG. I hate Intergalactic. That's probably one of the more decks that are kind of annoying to fight against. But you do have Drax Assault with for me, I have a more powerful Ego that gets pretty big, so that way he can actually deal with all the splash damage that they're doing. So it's not too terrible. But yeah, Intergalactic is definitely still kind of like an issue deck.
Well,
really good though.
I guess that brings me up next. And if you're having trouble with Intergalactic decks, have I got the answer for you? Yeah, it's Whiplash. I play a lot of Whiplash. I made a guide on it. I'm not going to go super in depth because I have a whole video here on YouTube on my channel that talks all about this deck. We'll hit some highlights though, and the reason why it beats up on Intergalactic so hard is that often at the end of the game you can just sell down to having 2 to 3 units on the board. One of them being Whiplash, and usually 2 is fine because then it's Whiplash and Red Hulk, and they don't get all the value on their Moonstone, and sometimes not on their Kree soldiers because they don't have the maximum target to hit. So the Marvel doesn't grow as much, and then you laugh at them because your Whiplash is like 5,000 points anyways. Yeah, this deck is crazy, and 1 large unit is often the best way to beat up on Intergalactic because you minimize their triggers. So I play Iron Man, of course. That's the core of the deck. And then I also do Spider-Man and Captain Marvel. A lot of that is for powers. Swing into action was obviously very powerful. It just got nerfed a little bit, but we can still hit the 16 on time because we have Pepper. I run 4 Pepper pots. She's a secondary economy engine after the changes to Stark, of course. He can't maximize all the money quite as hard anymore. So with Pepper, we can still leverage a lot of early game economy value and use those extra gems we get off of her to make sure Swing into Action can still proc on time on turn 4 if I go that way. With Captain Marvel, it's all about strength of the stars. You're gonna pair a lot. You're gonna hit a lot of 2 stars in this deck. So that's the main reason why, because you often will play a unit and then pick it up, 2-star it, play it again, and then sell it to trigger Whiplash. So because the cycle is so aggressive, she's a lot of value as far as an economy engine. Yeah, there we go. So at 1-star you gain 1 gem when you play a Stark, and then 2 gems and 4 gems as she stars up. So that can turn into a lot of extra cash, and Tony Stark's superpower is money, and so we leverage that real hard. 4 pots, 4 energy overload. I know you had mentioned that earlier. It serves a different purpose in this deck, though, because you apply it to something you're going to sell rather than something you want on the board. So you put it on something you sell, and then that extra power transfers over to the Whiplash, because a lot of people don't seem to realize that Whiplash gains power equal to whatever the current power of the unit is that's sold, plus whatever multiplier you get for his star level. It's not their base power, it's their current power. So things like energy overload, things like equipping weapons is very important with this deck. I run 1 silver sword. You jam the silver sword on your extremist or your hydro or your superior or your stealth or whatever, and then you sell it, you get the weapon back, then you play the next thing and you equip the weapon to it and you sell it and you get the weapon back, and all of that extra power, that's plus 8 power each time, each cycle, going into Whiplash. And so there's a lot of little optimizations like that to make sure you're getting the biggest possible Whiplash with the least possible investment most turns until you're ready to go all in. This deck you can definitely run yourself out of things to do if you're too aggressive, and it's very easy to build a giant Whiplash and then the next turn be like, well, crap, because I have nothing left. So scaling is really important. Also, I like that this deck can still leverage nanotech. It's one of the few decks that can now. It was played in every single deck forever, and not so much anymore, but it's great in this deck. People still give them out a lot off Stark as well, which is hilarious. Although not so much now, since you gotta have the 4-star now to be able to catch this. But yeah, it's real good. I don't know if Suit Up is the best option for this deck. It probably isn't, but I run it because I like it a lot, and it makes crazy things happen. It's a way to get extra stuff to sell at the end of the game. Like, honestly, Hulkbuster might be a little bit more consistent as far as finding stuff to sell, as he can hold the weapon, or even like Convergence Beam or back-to-back. All viable options in that. I think the 6 slot in this deck's pretty flexible, but that's the 6 slot for you. With Spider-Man, real quick, it's basically all filler except that we want the power and like the free refresh or swing into action, and 4 Web Snare. Web Snare is really important. I think it's one of the best cards in the meta right now that's probably not getting a ton of play. It's getting some play, but not a ton of play. But being able to stun left and right, and also, more importantly, remove equipment from left and right is really, really clutch. It shuts down a bunch of stuff people want to do. It can ruin Blood Axes on the far right. It can ruin trying to set up like some mask plays, things like that. So overall, just really flexible and can buy you time. And often, basically the last 4 turns of the game, I'm looking to play this card consecutively, just to leverage some board a little bit, and always go first with my giant annihilating Whiplash. And then also Glider. Glider's great. We have Pepper to hold it. Glider, I think, has just been a staple, really good card basically the entire time this game has been around, and nothing has changed there. Stunning your entire opponent's board is hilarious and awesome. It's just good, like it is.
Yeah, it is.
For Captain Marvel, mainly we're there for Strength of the Stars, but I still also run the Marvel Supreme Vision combo. It's still really nasty. Now, Supreme was nerfed from 20 to 10 power, and that hurts it somewhat. But honestly, that combo is still really disgusting. It's capable of doing absurd amounts of damage and wiping stuff out. I don't often go for it, but it's really nice to have in the back pocket. And you'll note that both of those, Marvel and Supreme, cost 5. From Iron Man, obviously we run Stealth and Whiplash at 5. And at Spider-Man, I have the Superior Spider-Man at 5, and that's important because I think Grand Invention is still the best power in the game, and we're usually popping it at store 5. So just giving yourself really high value options on 5 is great. Silver Sword, also great on 5, because I'm usually looking to grab that early, because that's, again, a really important part of the cycle. for Whiplash. So giving ourselves really strong 5-drop options, and then popping Grand Invention, and usually on turn 4 is fantastic. And but more people should play this deck because it's an incredibly good deck against the deck people complain about the most, which is Intergalactic Chewie. And this deck kind of trucks that deck. So spend some time, play it. And if you want really in-depth stuff, go watch my video because there's a whole video about it with gameplay analysis.
And you know what's crazy too is that I'm noticing, like, since you're playing Spider-Man, you have swing into action, and if you actually snag one of your really good 5-drops, like Black Symbiote, even I forgot this guy Marvel and what's this guy Supreme?
Yeah, Supreme Intelligence.
Like they're all 5-drops. So it's like it can actually like force your hands to go a certain way and actually star up them a lot faster, and then you just like kind of just like snowball from there.
Yeah, or a fun thing to find with it as well is Prime Armor, which we don't run in the deck, but you find Prime Armor and then he's growing and growing from the stuff you're incidentally playing from Whiplash, and then you get to feed him to Whiplash at the very end. It's really disgusting and hilarious. Because you can't run all of Prime, Whiplash, and Supreme in one, Stealth Armor all in one deck. You can only pick 2 of those 3, and those are all amazing 5-drops for Iron Man. So we don't get to run all 3 of them. So on the occasion when you get to jam all 3 of them in one game, it's almost always GG because it's really absurd. Feeding a huge Prime into Whiplash at the end is crazy. Also, one more tip with this deck: don't try and feed your Whiplash when he's at 1-star because you're not gaining anything. You may have to occasionally for board space, but because he gains power equal, it's not that great. Typically, you wait until you get him to 2-star, and then he doubles the power of the stuff you're selling, and suddenly you're profiting off of what you're selling for power. And then, of course, at 4-star, it gets really, really, really out of control very quickly. Quadrupling the power, and then so that means that 2-cost energy overload that gives +20 is giving you +80 power. Right,
that's so ridiculous.
Yeah, it's really silly. Once he's at 4-star, but yeah, don't try and like stick a Whiplash and then like cycle a bunch of stuff for a 1-star Whiplash because you lose all of your value and you didn't really gain anything. You made a kind of big Whiplash, but you lost all your power for the next turn. So that's one of the hard things I think to learn with this deck is when to go in and when not to, and estimating how big your opponent's board's going to be and how big a Whiplash you actually need to make versus how much you need to sit back and wait. Because it's really easy to go all in too fast and then run out of stuff to do, and then your Whiplash is not very big, and he's really sad. So yeah, there's the short thing. The long thing's out there. Go watch it if you want. If you want to learn how to play this deck, but don't tell me there's not ways to beat Intergalactic, everybody on Discord, because there are, and you're just not doing it.
Yeah,
that is fair.
And by the way, we keep talking about Intergalactic. We might as well go over that deck.
Sure.
I do have a version of it here. I call it Bubblegum, so it revolves around Chewie. But basically, this is the basic. I've modified it a bit to be more of a Shop 4 deck because I found that relying too heavily on tempoing the 5 is going to end up getting you killed against the hyper-aggressive Red Rush decks or Shop 3 decks.
Right, and this is, this kind of leverages back into, with the Whiplash deck, the 5-drops in this deck are relatively weak. Naked, right, by themselves. Whereas Whiplash is 20 points by himself. Marvel is 6 points by himself. And that's a huge difference, yeah.
And if you don't have any triggers for Marvel, he is just the 6 on board. So this deck revolves around skill power procs. More specifically, those skill powers procking when units die. So you have in the 2 slot, you're running Kree soldiers who proc 1 damage each to 2 opponents, and it triggers 1 time. And the trigger amount varies in regards to starburst levels. So at 2nd level, it'll deal 1 damage to each opponent to 2 opponents, but now it'll trigger twice. And then at 4 stars, it'll trigger 4 times. I also run Photon Force Field. It's a decent 2-cost card. You probably want that over any other 2-cost card here, but it's more just filler. On the 3 slot, you are running Miss Marvel. Now I've messed with the counts of Miss Marvel a lot here. I've ran her at 1 because I just wanted her as a filter so I can find my 4-star costs. I've ran her at 2. Now I'm running her at 4 because this is more of a Shop 4 deck and she's going to be my main carry. Yeah, this card can vary based on how you want to play this. The other 3 costs is Negabands. Negabands gives taunt to a unit, and it also deals 4 damage to a random opponent whenever that unit is struck. And I'm running 2 here because I'm running it both on the Kree soldiers as well as Baron Zemo to counteract the hyper aggro early decks. So that's 3. And then in the 4 slot, we have the classic Jan Rogers and Moonstone. I know John loves Jan Rog. He's like telling me all the time.
I hate this card.
So, prior to his buff a few weeks ago, Jan Rog would only increase skill damage by your intergalactic war characters by 1, 2, and then 4, depending on his starburst level. They doubled that up, so now he increases it by 2, 4, and 8, which definitely puts intergalactic onto a level playing field with every other deck.
And also his base went from 8 to 10, right?
That's true, yeah.
Pretty relevant.
So, and then Moonstone is probably the primary support of this deck. If it and Kree soldiers are the main engine,
right?
And then they power Miss Marvel, and then later on they will power Marvel.
So her 1 power is irrelevant. It's basically her skill damage is what's deadly.
So hang on 1 second. I actually did some math.
And then she just gains a more ridiculous, like when you star her up, especially like at 4 stars, she does that 4 times trigger.
Yeah.
That's like, and then if you have like a 4-star Yongrog with her doing.
Here's the math behind this. So, if you have a 4-star Yonrog, and he's going to add 8 damage to each of these procs, right? So each of these laser beams she shoots out is going to deal 12 damage. So she does 12 damage to 3 opponents. Now, if you go to 4-star with her, it's going to deal 12 damage to 3 opponents 4 times. And now we're assuming you have a board that this is a modest board that has a 4-star Yonrog and a 4-star Moonstone and say a 2-star Kree Soldier. In total, they will deal 66 damage by the time they're all done going on. If you have
that's wild.
Yeah. If you have a Chewie on board with them, just a level 1 Chewie, it will deal an additional 42 damage, bringing that to over 100 damage.
Unreal.
And now your Marvel will scale with that.
And your Marvel
or multiplicatively scale with that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And your Kamala will scale.
Mm-hmm. Not as hard, but yes.
Yeah. Kamala does scale pretty well though. Because these are all multiple procs. She procs it 3 times.
Right.
Kree soldiers procs twice for Kamala. And yeah, the basis of this deck is just getting as much skill damage out as possible with Moonstone and Kree soldiers, having your Chewie instantly eat those 2 up, them doing a massive amount of skill damage to the opponent's board, buffing up your Marvel, and then I know some decks are also running like trading places, where they will put a Moonstone at the end of the board so that when Chewie eats it, it'll come back at 4 stars right at the end of the board again. So that's another thing you can do.
And that's a pretty high value trading places because you're only going from 4 to 1 power.
Yeah.
It's the lowest power loss possible. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And you still have 4 stars.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild. And you know, like either with trading places, like it brings back the unit at 1 power, but you don't care because Moonstone's job is to get destroyed.
Yep.
So that way she could do the splash damage.
And then I run Spider-Man and Iron Man. I run Spider-Man because Web Snare is just so good.
2 thumbs up.
Yeah. And Web Shooters is also really nice. Put on like a Kamala. Stun is the name of the game against high power boards.
I seen somebody hit me with 4 web shooters. They had 4 yellow units, and it was like stun. I was like, well, I don't get to play the game today, or at least this round.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
I think off a little bit later, but it's really good. But I wouldn't run all 4. That's a lot.
If you have a level 4 Yonrog, it's on an intergalactic. It's dealing 9 damage to 2 people every time it procs and stunning.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then I run Iron Man because I stay on 4 a lot, so I get Tony Stark, and it also gives me a shot at Grand Invasion.
So I have a question. Why aren't you running Patriot then? We have talked about this in the past, but like, isn't Patriot good to be able to find more of your 4 stars? Or your 4
I just
costs?
feel like I lose out with Patriot more than I win with him. Okay. And if I'm going to lose out and just have a unit on board, I'd rather have Superior Iron Man. Because he's going to buff the board anyways. Yeah.
Okay. Fair.
That's fair. That's a fair choice. I think it'll end up to be like whatever your playstyle is, you know, what you want to do. Because I would probably run Patriot just to find more of the Moonstones or more of the Yongrogs and stuff like that, because it just gives us just a better chance to get them. You know what I mean?
But as Faith notes, you're going to be finding Korgs.
Patriots anyways in the shop. You're refreshing to find Moonstones and Yonrog.
Right. That's a good point.
That's fair.
So yeah, if you're buying Patriots in the shop, something's going wrong. But if you're on a fringe case where maybe a Superior Iron Man boosting the board could win you the next match, that's the thought.
That's true too. I guess it just depends on what the board state is at that current moment in time.
Right.
What's happening.
And then the other important unit here is obviously Baron Zemo. He does so much work against destroyer boards. Him converting destroyers, such a good feeling.
And that's why I play Ego to mitigate that guy, so that way Ego can get touched. And
he's not too common anymore.
Yeah, I only play 5-drops, so Zemo never concerns me. In all of my decks, I only play 5-drops. That's definitely a thing.
But that's the intergalactic deck that everybody's not been liking.
Yeah.
But as with every card game and every new meta, there's going to be 1 or 2 decks where everybody is just going to be like, I don't like this deck. It's too strong.
It's and I mean, I think the reason it's so commonplace is that it's relatively cheap to assemble. Right? That's a lot of it. It's fairly cheap to put together. It's low legendaries, and I know Marvel has been available in battle passes twice now for free. So, like, you know, it's been very easy to assemble even the core legendary for this deck. You've basically gotten 2 for free if you've played this game any number of seasons. So it's pretty cheap to put together.
But that does it for our meta deck analysis.
Wait, all right. If we're analyzing meta decks, what's the best deck right now? What's the top tier?
All right. If we're grading based on how consistent it is in getting top 3, none of the decks that we discussed today.
I agree. I think the best deck we did not talk about.
It's going to be this deck over here.
No, don't put it on the screen! No! Oh, this deck's too good.
So, this deck I've titled Red Rush.
Yeah,
basically.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, this deck, you're probably not going to get a lot of firsts, but you're probably going to get a lot of top 3s.
Yeah, you're going to push people out of games real quick.
So, the main focus of this deck is you stay on 2, you pick up red cards. So, things like Outrider, which you have 4 of. Things like, you'll have Blood Axe here as well to help out here. And Spider-Man, you're going to have Spider-Woman here. You're going to have Rocket Raccoon. Yeah, that's not important. You have Rocket's Jetpack.
And Shield Agent is the other one.
The most important ones are the Outrider, the Shield Agent, and the Spider-Woman. And then you just level up to 3. You pick up, Destroyers.
Doc Ock.
I'm pretty sure you'd be picking up like Falcon in between, just giving random boosts and stuff like that, and just like cycling in and out red stuff.
You finish the game on chop 3, and you have Gladiators as well.
Or you flip it all into 6. You line up all your Starbursts and get a bunch of free 6 drops, and then you push power that way. That's the other way that this deck can end games. It's really crazy.
yeah, you just push people up by having a lot of starbursted 4 stars.
Yeah, because this can very quickly switch into like a bunch of snaps as well.
Yeah,
if you set it up right, yeah, that's definitely a thing I've seen. Yeah, this deck's scary. I think this is probably the best. This deck is fast, right? That's the other thing, is if you're looking to fast climb, this is probably the best deck as far as like number of games versus top threes, points gained, all that, to mathematically climb quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you're just only trying to focus on getting top 3 and you're pushing people out within like turn 4, turn 5,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I mean, you're ending games a lot quicker than if you're playing like a traditional trying to set up your combo strategy type of deck.
Right.
And then that takes a lot longer. So you're finishing games quicker with this in regards to just playing one game.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And you know, the meta is the Intergalactic is very popular in the meta, but you know, I think we covered some anti-meta options. Obviously, all the decks we're playing, the 3 decks we talked about, are all effective. Like, you know, there's a reason we brought them up and are talking about them so much, right? Like, we all picked those intentionally. So there are certainly a fair number of options. I think, you know, there are hella combo decks still out there using Loki now that are still that's still a thing. And you know, I've seen Loki pop off to do some very silly things. So
yep.
There are options out there for sure. I want to play. I haven't picked the Prime Armor deck back up yet. Because the initially the extra animation when you tried to do Patriot triggers was insane. But now that it's been fixed, then maybe I'll go back to it.
Prime Armor has that issue of if you don't find cards immediately with it,
right?
You know, and it's not going to get a lot, like say you would with the Whiplash, where Whiplash starts with 20 power.
Right, and that's why I've switched to Whiplash, because they buffed him, and I was like, oh, 20 power is a lot. Okay, yeah, I can work with that. Whereas Prime starts at like 6, I think.
Yeah.
He starts low, so you got to do a little more work to make him work. Whereas like finding Whiplash plus Stealth, you're like, great, awesome,
done. Yep.
Yeah, easy, problem solved. I don't have to sell this immediately, but I get 40 extra points on the board this turn, or 42 extra points. So yeah, it's in a little bit better position, but I'll still try it. I still like that deck a lot, and also it still feels really crazy to like pick 10 extra cards on a given turn, and like the value of it's just too high to ignore sometimes.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good.
Agreed. Yeah, but I think that'll about wrap us up here for episode 2. Make sure you catch it, everyone. You guys want to shout out your socials?
Yeah, John, go ahead.
Yeah. So you can find me at YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. I think everything is all the same. Jonathan Snow 88 or either Jonathan_Snow. I should have all those links on my social will be there down below. Again, also join the official Discord for Marvel Duel, because we are also very active in there as well. We're still trying to grow the community. We have a bunch of new regions that just been implemented as well. So that's really awesome. And I cannot wait until we get a global release eventually. I'm very, very excited for that. There's no date announced for that in particular, but I'm hoping soon.
Indeed. You can find me everywhere. HorribleChopstick, HorribleChop on Twitter. Thanks, character limits. I've been pretty inactive this week, except on Twitter screaming about politics. But hey, that's almost over. So soon that will be done, and I'll be back to normal streams. And I'm going to start streaming again probably tomorrow. I think picking up regular nightly streams again. It's just been a big stressful week, especially here in North Carolina, where things have been especially crazy on the political spectrum. So if you've been paying attention to that in the United States, that's been my focus this week. But that's over for the most part. So back streams, back to YouTube, back to making stuff like this because we like you guys. So yeah.
And you can catch me at twitch.com/FXV_Faith. I'm also Faith Discord.
Don't go to twitch.com, everybody. Go to twitch.tv.
Twitch.tv, that's the one. Yeah. But yeah, we appreciate everybody who's listening. Hope you all enjoyed and have a great week.
We'll see you guys next week. Enjoy our awesome new outro. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.